The Boy Who Played the Harp by Dave album review, his third studio album. I've had a whole day, 2 days now actually, to sit with this album. It's all I've been listening to. It dropped yesterday at midnight. And man, getting into the album, right? I hate having expectations for an album, even though the said artist is one of my favorite artists. So you'll go in with those preconceptions of what you may expect, but artists like Dave, artists like, even, I don't want to compare him to this person, but artists like your Kendrick Lamar's, the worst thing you can do for yourself is have preconceived expectations for a certain album that they drop, especially given the fact that he has been gone away for 4 years. It's been 4 years since we're all alone in this together, and yeah, we haven't heard from him since. Like, from his own personal view, he did the 4-pack EP with Central C, which was, it had good party tracks in there, but we haven't heard from Dave himself, from his own perspective, in 4 years. And the moment he dropped the title of the album and the track list, as much as I said not having any expectations, but The Boy Who Played the Harp, I already had expectation that this is going to be very personal, in the sense that he's definitely going to address his faith, firstly, because if you know, the boy who played the harp in the Bible is David, and obviously his name is David. So I already knew that this is going to have some biblical references and we're about to get some deep cuts. But when I tell you, after listening to it a couple times, when I say a couple times, it's all I've been listening to for the past 2 days. And it's just been back to front, back to front, back to front. Wow. From all his studio albums, I don't think a singular album has evoked much emotion from me. I don't think Psychodrama did this to me. I don't think We're All Alone in This Together did this to me. And before I get into the actual, track list and what tracks do I think are standouts and what tracks do I think fall off a bit, because I do not think it's a perfect album, by the way, in the sense that, I'm not saying there are any necessarily skips, but there's certain elements or certain songs that I just didn't gravitate towards too. It's only 2.5, but we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. But yeah, Dave is not new to deep cuts, because I've been seeing chatter online, and what I try to do, right, when I listen to an album, I try to avoid being online, especially for the first couple listens. I switch off my data, switch off my Wi-Fi, put my phone in airplane mode, and just be in the moment of listening to an album, which is exactly what I did after my first maybe 5 to 10 listens. Then I went online to just see some chatter, and there's mixed reviews of the album, extremely polarizing. And my first instinct, and I kind of knew this when I was listening to this, it kind of felt like Dave's, and hear me out here, it kind of felt like Dave's Mr. Morale. There's so many similarities, not in the necessarily subject matter, because I think they're addressing both personal issues, but I think the albums are very different in not only sonically, but also just what exactly they're addressing within their personal lives. But in the sense that it's taken a whole new direction that you just didn't expect, and it's not one that is easily digestible on first listen. That is the sense that I got, because this wasn't an album where I listened to from front to back for the first time and I was blown away, but some of the tracks were just difficult to get through, and not in the sense that they were bad, but just difficult to get through because there was such hard-hitting bars. So many bars hit home for me, and yay, it was a therapy session. It was a whole therapy session, and I think the same sentiment can be had of Mr. Morale. But when I went online, as I said, I try to avoid online because people's opinions can sway you a bit, even though I'm one person, and I always advocate for this, that do not let public perception of a certain album or a certain artist deter you from what you feel about an album or an artist. But we are humans. We listen to the chatter, we'll obviously absorb all that, and we'll make of that what we will. But I try to avoid online chatter, especially for an album that just dropped. But when I went online, the remarks that I'm seeing, and I'm not one person, right, without yapping too much, but this is going to be a whole yap session, and hence why this is going to be long form and not a short, because I could have easily done a short for this, but I told myself there's no way I'm doing a short for this album because I have so much to say. But I'm not one person to have this almost superiority complex when certain people don't like an album and people say, "Oh, you're just not intelligent enough." And I'm like, what? That makes zero sense. I hate when people say that. I hate when people have the take, and I don't want to make this a Kendrick video, but it's him, it's his fans, including, I'm one of his fans, but it's his fans that do this. Even J. Cole fans sometimes do this, where if a certain person doesn't like a certain song for an artist or for Kendrick or J. Cole, they like to throw these remarks of, "Oh, you're just not intelligent enough," or "You just don't get it. You just don't get it," For me, not only is music subjective, extremely subjective, but it's also in the sense that the reason why we gravitate towards certain songs 99.99% of the time is a sense of relatability. So if someone doesn't enjoy a certain album, it's not necessarily because they don't get it. I always say that, no, it's just you don't relate to that certain content. And that's simply what it is, because I think a lot of people went into the album with certain expectations. They're maybe expecting a Sprinter or that type of vibe, because in his previous 2 LPs, Dave, as I said, has had deep cuts in songs like Psycho, in songs like Drama, in songs like Both Sides of a Smile, in songs like We're All Alone, in songs like Heart Attack, in songs like, Leslie is not necessarily a deep cut. It is a deep cut, but it's not a personal cut. So, which is what The Boy Who Played the Harp is. It's all about Dave. Whereas previous LPs, his previous 2 LPs, it was more so it was more so everything that's going on around him versus him talking about predominantly himself. Whereas here he's taken a whole new direction, and it's solely deep cuts, solely personal cuts, and he's addressing a lot in this album. He's addressing his faith. He's addressing his place. He's even addressing his purpose. It's almost as if he's going through some existential crisis. It's also a sense of survivor's guilt, which I'm not sure if this is a reach. But I think it is a reach, because it's such a coincidence that this album, it's him having some sort of survivor's guilt, and the last track on We're All Alone in This Together is called what? Survivor's Guilt. I don't know. I don't think that was deliberate, because obviously at the time of him making We're All Alone in This Together, I don't think he planned to be away for 4 years and then come back with some sort of survivor's guilt. No. But it feels that way. It feels he's having some sort of survivor's guilt. It feels that he's this wealthy person. He's made it. He knows he's made it. And, he's not uncomfortable in even addressing the fact that he is this successful big artist. He's even addressed himself as the greatest in certain tracks. But he doesn't seem content. Even in the whole line about him saying, what did he say in that line in this album? A lot of people make content, but they're not content. So it's almost as if he's facing some sort of existential crisis where he's addressing his purpose. He's addressing his struggle with love. Firstly, Dave as well. This ex of his that he's constantly addressing, and I think it's the same ex that he mentioned in How I Met Your Ex. So yeah, man, he's really not over that relationship, and he struggled with love, in general. But okay, back to my point of just the whole superiority complex that people have. Man, if people don't necessarily like this album yet, I just think it's a sense of relatability. If people don't relate to it, or it's not, maybe it's not even a sense of relatability, but it's just in the sense that they came with expectations and they got what they got, and it just didn't meet their expectation. Hence why I'm like, will certain artists drop your expectations? Because I don't want to slander anyone. I don't want to slander anyone. I don't want to anyone to catch strays. But there's certain artists that you can get an album after album after album, and you'll know what subject matter that person's going to give you. Such as the first person that comes to mind is 21 Savage. I don't know why, but you know what you're about to get with that certain artist. But there's certain rappers, artists that you should drop your expectations and come in with every LP with a fresh mindset. But coming into The Boy Who Played the Harp, sorry for that yap session, but coming into this album, right? Man, this album evokes so much emotion for me because of so many hard-hitting bars, man. So many bars hit home. Getting into already the intro track with James Blake, History, and it's like, you're well within the business that you know what you're about to get. He's addressing his struggles. He's addressing his internal conflict. And then and it's a lovely opener, by the way. Lovely production, lovely vocals from James Blake. Come on, James Blake is like a cheat code. He's in the ilk of Sampa. He's in the ilk of Anderson .Paak. Get him on your track. It's a guaranteed cheat code. I don't think he's ever missed on a rap song, specifically with Dave, because he has 2 features with Dave here, and obviously he had Both Sides of a Smile in his previous LP, and all three of those tracks are just amazing in their own ways. And then you get into a track like 175 Months, and you know, this is where some of his hardest hitting bars are at, where he addresses his mother, saying that, please pray for my mom because I think she used a last prayer on me or something along those lines. And it's like, whoa, okay, okay. And yet again, you get this lovely production, and specifically near the end, the last 30 seconds of the song, I'm assuming that's a harp. I'm not too familiar with certain instruments, but considering this is an album about referencing the boy who played the harp, which is David from the Bible, I'm assuming that instrument is a harp, but it's a lovely production near the end, and just, yeah. And now, as I said, this album is not perfect. It's amazing, but it's not perfect for me, in the sense that No Weapons and Rain Dance were the two songs that I didn't gravitate towards too. And talking about chatter online, I've seen certain people put these two songs, and hence why this music thing is so subjective, because I've seen people put certain songs where they view it and they revere it as the best in the album, and it's like, damn, that's near the bottom for me. That's the beauty of music. That's the beauty of, you know, even Dave addressed a certain thing about why are we having commentators on music. Just enjoy the music, you know. Certain sections of it is constructive, but I feel as if people now just focus on them, like on someone else's opinion, which is ironic because I'm like here giving my opinion on an album. But I get that, because certain people strip away their enjoyment of an album just because of other people's opinion of it. I love, hence why I even have this channel, I love not only giving my opinion, I love hearing people's opinions. No matter how far-fetched I think an opinion is, but at the end of the day, music is subjective. And I always hold that conception that I always hold that that view that music is subjective. So whenever someone says something that I don't necessarily agree with, I'll always hear it out and then try to see it from their point of view, and then just keep it moving, because their opinion, obviously, your mind can be changed, your mind can be shifted, but at the end of the day, don't let other people's opinion make you enjoy the music that you enjoy less. So, but yeah, for me, No Weapons and Rain Dance, the only reason why I didn't gravitate towards those is because it takes a different direction in terms of like the rest of the album. Yes, it's still deep cuts, it's still personal cuts, but it's more of dance music, it's more chilled music, whereas already from the first two tracks, I'm already in the view that, okay, this is about to be a deep personal album, which makes sense because the album is called The Boy Who Played the Harp, rather, and it's addressing himself as David, not anyone else, not anything else, it's just David. So those two tracks, not necessarily that they're bad, but I just think I am not the target audience. That's it. It's a sense of relatability. It's almost also in the sense that, without swaying too much, but it's also in the sense with Drake with Honestly Nevermind. There's certain people that think that that's an amazing album, and I just never ever gravitated towards that, because that's just not the type of music that I gravitate towards. Simple as that. So then you get into another track, which I think, as a concept, it's so well thought of and well thought of, but the execution could have been a bit better. And that is a song that I really actually love, Chapter 16. I just have one criticism of this song: the production. And guys, production for me plays such a heavy role in a song. A heavy role. And I can't emphasize this enough. And I think the production on there is a bit lackluster, but in the sense that also it's just a regular conversation that Dave is having with Kano, almost seeking guidance from him. Kano being an old head, a legend within the game, whereas Dave, compared to Kano, is still relatively new school. So it's like this polarity, this duality between new school and old school, and just them giving advice back and forth, and just having this nice conversation. You know, and it almost gets comedic in the middle of the conversation as well. Just them addressing what food that they haven't had. You know, Kano saying, I've been to Nigeria, but I didn't have, is it Igosi? Sorry if I'm butchering that, but yeah, and then Dave is like shocked. It's just this nice back and forth conversation. My only criticism of that song is the production. Literally that. I think it wasn't the best sonically, and it is 6 minutes, so it is kind of difficult to get through. But once you get past No Weapons, Rain Dance, and Chapter 16, even though I love Chapter 16, by the way, I don't want anyone to get that twisted. But once you get past those three, the rest of the album is, I hate to throw around the word perfect, but it's perfect. Selfish, my 27th birthday. Oh, my 27th birthday. Another installment of a birthday song that is just a hit. He never misses with the birthday songs. I'm not sure where to rank it yet. I may make a video of ranking all the birthday songs. I think I should actually. But yeah, it's, I don't even know what to say. Marvelous, amazing, and underrated as well. Fairchild being a combination of Leslie and Both Sides of a Smile combined into a more concise version of both, because both Leslie and Both Sides of a Smile are quite lengthy songs, whereas it takes elements of both, combine them into this one amazing piece of art, and it's really putting men on notice to say, hey, you need to be aware of how you guys are treating women and just these predators within this world, and just putting on notice. And then also you're getting the perspective of the woman from Nicole Black, I believe, and it's just an amazing song, well executed, perfect. And then the closer of the album, The Boy Who Played the Harp. This is where, and if you guys saw my YouTube post where I said album of the year, and yes, I was actually talking about The Boy Who Played the Harp, because at that point I think I played the album a good 10 times, and I was listening to The Boy Who Played the Harp, the song, and I just decided to just put out that message out there, because at the time it was my emotion speaking. I do not think it's album of the year, by the way. I think that was just my emotions and my bias, because I love Dave, guys. He's one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite rappers, but this song ties up the album so well. It really brings sense into the concept of the album as well, and also just him, not only because he's been addressing personal issues with his purpose, with internal conflicts, with his struggle with love, but now he's bringing on more social issues as well, you know, within this song, and other songs as well within the album, including 27th Birthday. But it really ties up the album as a whole and just brings it back, and just, it's this amazing finale of what is an amazing album for me. It's probably, if I could put a ballpark estimate of where I put it right now that I've had some time to sit with it, and now that my emotions are a bit, you know, neutralized a bit, well, not neutralized, but a bit lower, it's in my top 5, top 10 albums of the year, for sure. Top 5, top 10 rap albums of the year, to be specific, by the way. Yeah, but it's an amazing body of work. Dave, he did not miss. You see, this is where, as much as, yes, people may say that, oh, they didn't like the album, and I say that it's because they didn't necessarily relate to it, or they just had preconceived expectations of the album. But this is not a miss at all. This is an amazing album. This is an amazing album. You know, I'm not one to rate, but if I were to give a rating on it, you know, I did say that there are 2 songs that I'm actively not being drawn to, and then Chapter 16 on a production standpoint is a bit offish. So ballpark estimate, I'll probably give this album an 8 out of 10. 8.5. 8.5 out of 10, and I think that's very much fair, and I could go much higher. I love this album. It made me low-key tear up a bit on first couple listens because of some hard-hitting bars, man. Some hard-hitting bars, you know. Those certain bars that come to my head that really hit me hard were the one where he said, what's the point of living if you have nothing to die for? You know, something along those lines. And then there's also the bar about him going through withdrawal symptoms, but they happen at ATMs. In the next 2 years, I'll be seeing ATMs. Okay. I thought that was just clever as well. But, you know, that bar was him coming off of him saying that he's had some drinking problems and then he's become sober and all that, and he's feeling like himself. But also, yet again, the bar about him saying that, can you please pray for my mom? You know, I think she used her last prayer on me. Man, so many hard-hitting bars on this LP, man. So many quotables, so many bars that are going to have you, well, at least it had me pausing the track and just contemplating on life. This, as I said, it's a therapy session, and it made me think about a lot because, and I said this is the one album from Dave that really evoked the most emotion for me, because I think it also stems back to the fact that I'm literally the same age as this guy, and a lot of the subject matters that he touched on, a lot of the bars that he mentioned, a lot of what he said, I can relate to. You know, oh yes, and the one bar that actually killed me, and I think it's the one that really made me pause and stop and literally almost tear up, literally cry. I don't think there's any shame in in admitting, because it's so hard hitting, it's so close to home, in the sense that when he said, how can I love myself when the two people that made me don't hate each other? How can he love himself when the two people that made him hate each other? Yeah. But this album is filled with a lot of like self-introspection. You know, he's really digging into himself, his purpose, his place, him, what's the way forward. You know, I'm 27 years on this planet, but you know, he's really having that existential crisis in a sense, survivor's guilt as well. And yeah, it's a hard-hitting album, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Go into it with an open mind. Go into it with no expectations of your sprinters and your locations and your stratums. You know, go into it with a fresh mindset and just listen to the music, man. It's a beautiful album. And for the most part, beautiful production. Just a couple tracks here and there that could have been produced a bit better. But for the most part, beautiful production, soulful production, and just Dave, man. It's Dave at the end of the day. I don't want to glaze, but it is Dave. But yeah, man. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.